Many times people have concern. They say, oh, okay, I have so many challenges. How can I succeed in the business? And I'm going through this and that and that. But what about a person who has been going through lot of challenges from their childhood? People say that, oh, this person betrayed me, that person did this to me, that and all. But how about your own relative and your beloved mom? I don't want to give away all her story, but you are going to listen and inspire from a lady who overcame all the challenges, and in spite of all that, it's very successful at her own business. So without further delay, let me invite Davida. Davida, hi, hello.
How are you doing? And thank you for having me on your show today.
Yeah, sure. You are always welcome because I know you and I know your story. It is very inspirational. And I know you are going to inspire our audience. So that's why means I just welcome you and I just wanted to know more about you because this channel is designed for people to get more inspiration, more resources, so that they can succeed in their own business. Or if they want to start a business, they have an idea. People who have gone through so many challenges, and in spite of that, they succeeded. So I wanted to ask you, in your case, how was it was like growing up with disability? Because many times people have everything going for them and still they complain. But what about you? Tell me about your childhood.
Well, my childhood was not the best because, as you know, we all come from different cultures, and the cultural things and the way we originally come from, those are the things that we carry with us. And both of my my grandparents came from Eastern Europe, and they went through hardships. But in my father's case, it was in their home, there was a lot of physical abuse. And in my mother's home, there was a lot of verbal and emotional abuse. And when they came together, theirs was not really a marriage based on love as much as it was based on convenience. My father was a lawyer. He liked to give dinner parties. He wanted someone that would be a hostess. And my mother was someone who wanted financial security. So that was their common bond. And what they did was they brought that negativity into the home and created that. It wasn't just me, but it was, I also have an older sister that was born deaf. And because her personality was such that she needed to be pushed, she and they didn't push her in the right direction. Because she's very introverted, she's at a place now where she just does nothing. And for me, because I had a personality that was very outgoing and like meeting people and like interacting with people, that whenever they were being negative to me, it was more of I took it as a challenge and a red flag in front of me, and I'm going to prove you wrong because I can be more than what you're telling me I can be. But really and truly, that the years and the years of hearing that going through in my head, it was internalized. But it was really not until I went to college and started studying in the mental health and psychology, and then eventually a master's in rehabilitation counseling, that I was able to overcome a lot of those limiting beliefs. But that's because I had the determination to succeed. Now, what I'm going to go through is something that I think really helps people understand is that you've got the Myers Briggs, but you've also got the DISC. The Myers Briggs is the psychological, and it's the introvert versus the extrovert, and the judging and the non judging. And it has to be administered by a psychologist or a psychometrist. But the DISC you can take yourself. and it's more understandable in that you've got D, which is the person who's very believes they can control everything around them. And then you've got the person that has the very good interpersonal skills and can go up to a stranger and can meet them and talk to them and can even do business at a party. And then you've got the steadiness personality, and that person kind of is the mediator, and they're very introverted, and they like a lot of peace around them, and they don't like a lot of change. And then you've got the conscientiousness personality, and that's the person that questions everything. You hear it in a small child when they want to learn. We have all of those in us, but some are our strengths and some of our weaknesses. And for me, my my D and my I were hit very high, so that helped me overcome a lot of it. But it doesn't mean that someone else can't. They just have to figure out where they're coming from, how to bring up those behavior patterns, and also how to get the help they need when they need it. Because we've seen this with COVID, where all of a sudden people are starting to talk about the mental health issues. And those are things that have been around for years, but it's never talked about.
Yeah, absolutely right. So that was the idea about you to overcome your limits, and that was really amazing. I have also come across with DISC, and it is a really good formula. I mean, it's really well to know and great tool to self observe where you stand and where you can improve. But how did you start a business, and why did you start a business? What was the need for you to
Okay,
start a business?
when I entered the workforce, it was really the late 80s, the late 70s, early 80s. You didn't have the Americans with Disability Act. You didn't have the Individual Disability Education Act, or IDEA. So for me, education was not really there, in that I went to school because my mother didn't know what else to do with me. And that's another thing where I think religion plays a very important role, because in the Jewish religion, how you pass the Torah on, how you pass on certain teachings, it's important to have an education. And you don't see that in Christianity as much, where they talk about the importance of an education. And the fact that I've had an education behind me, and even though I struggled to get grades, because with cerebral palsy, it affects how the brain processes information. It doesn't always get from short-term memory into long-term memory. So my grades never really showed what I was truly capable of. Because if you expect me to go to a classroom, listen to the teacher, go home and read the book, and come back and take a test and do well on it. Plus, also, there are times when I found, especially when it came to numbers, what I saw and what I wrote down were two different things. So what happens? Yeah, and the funny thing is, teachers didn't even recognize those. I realized it when I was in graduate school taking a statistics class, couldn't come up with the right answer, couldn't figure out why, left that alone and came back. And when I came back, I realized I wrote a number down wrong. And when I made it the right number, I came up with the answer. So, I mean, there's little things that people do, and all of, there's so many different types of learning disabilities today. And I don't, and there are people that don't even realize that they have a learning disability, and it's how it's affecting them, how it creates those limiting beliefs in their head, how the things that people tell them, the grades you get, how that creates your limiting beliefs. And when you take, because I found that when I took the information and applied it, I learned it. It's the same thing, like you go and learn something, you go and teach it, and you learn it when you teach it.
Yeah, absolutely right. So, were there any support systems available that time? Because this business sounds really unique, and I don't think it falls into any kind of set category. So, tell me more about the support system.
Well, I, in essence, had to create my own support systems. That I had a few friends, and mainly they were friends that had remained with me through the years. And in fact, I had some friends that when that I was being told, "Oh, go sit in the $6 an hour telemarketing job. That's the best you can do." And I realized I need to not be around them. I need to be around people who are encouraging. And it's like in Christianity, they say, "Oh, if you just believe in Jesus, it's going to come to you." Or if you go give a tithe, you're going to get that money. It doesn't happen that way. If you sit there waiting for it to come to you and you don't have a goal and you don't work on that goal, you're not going to get anywhere. You have to set a goal, you have to work on it, and if you have to break it up into smaller chunks that are, "I'm going to do this, that see the successes along the way," then by the time you reach that goal, you've had the success. Because it can be very, very daunting to to look at something and figure out, how am I going to get there. And there is a story that I read where a grandson went with his grandfather to go plant in the field. And he looks at the field and he says, "How am I going to finish that?" And the grandfather says to him, "Turn around, put your back to the end, work on, and as you're getting to the end, then you're seeing what you're achieving as opposed to all of what you have to do in front of you."
Yeah, begin with the end in your mind. Yeah, Stephen Covey always says that. Okay. Yeah, so you must have gained lots of experiences, and everyone says that experience is a great teacher. So what do you think? What all the things you learn because of your experiences?
Well, I think what I learned was, and what I'm probably still learning, is to believe in myself and not, and we talk about the laws of attraction. And the laws of attraction says, "Oh, if you just change your thinking." But if you look back to the 20th century, and when Freud came along and Carl Jung came along, and then eventually you had psychodrama. And psychodrama is where you get to act out scenes with people, and you get to and then you get to reprogram it by having an alter ego behind you that will say something to you, and you say, "Yeah, that's right," and you say it what they said, and then you expand on it, or you say no and then you change it to what it is. But it gets you a way to work through those unfinished business. And then you've got transactional analysis. And transactional analysis was established by Eric Berne. Now that's his name was changed. But here's what he says: you got the parent, you got the adult, and you got the child. The child always says, "I want." The adult says, "I'm able to." The parent says, "You should." The thing is, what are those messages? How have you internalized them? And how can you change them around? Because it's, "I can, you can, I can't, you can, I can't, you can,
Absolutely
I
right.
can't, and you can't." And when you think about those things, those are the things that you're feeling, and it's the limiting beliefs that are put on you, most likely by your grades and the school and the teacher. Whereas if you took it and sat back and said, "Now, these are the beliefs I have, but are they true? What's inside of me, and how can I do what I need to do, even if you need a support system, whether it's a group or whether it's actually working with a therapist, but someone that's your support group that helps you recognize where it's all from and how you can overcome it. I'm actually working on a course that's I'm going to be putting up that, and I'm also doing a challenge on that's talking about crushing your limiting beliefs. First talks about how you establish them, where they come from, and then how do you overcome them. And in a challenge, I've got a 5-day challenge, a 15-day challenge, and a 30-day challenge, but it's actually taking and helping you to recognize it and then talk about the things that you can do to overcome those, because those limiting beliefs are what's holding you back. And you may not even realize it, and you may not even hear what's being said or where it even comes from. And and yet the laws of attraction takes from there and talks about it, and then it's talking about that energy that you're putting out into the universe, and how when you're saying negative things, how it's coming back to you negative. And when you reprogram it so it's good habits and you're saying positive things, that's what's coming back to you.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. Because when I was designing my messaging for business, and it was like that, I was thinking, okay, I'm providing value added resources at the really affordable prices to the business owners who want to run their business on shoestring budget. Then actually my mentor told me, you are attracting only the people who don't have much money, and even they may not even have mindset. So then I changed my messaging. So now I providing businesses and all the resources to smart and ambitious people who are willing to take action on their own, and they can take actually all these e-courses and do it themselves. So it's totally true. Means law of attraction is right, and whatever you give to the universe, it comes back to you. And everyone is a creator of God, and I really believe means basically everyone has the same needs. And so tell me about you, means do you think your needs and your feelings are just like everyone else, or they are a little different? What is your opinion about them?
Okay, I think that over the years I've learned that it all starts with, do you love yourself? Are you lovable? Do you have something to give out to someone else? And get that we're all unique and different. The thing is that people look at you, and what'll happen is they want to group you into a group, and they don't understand that each person is unique. Each person has something that they bring to the universe, to the world, that makes them different. I mean, what makes Zig Ziglar different than Tony Robbins? The only difference is their experiences and their stories. It's like I'm at an age now where I'm not looking to write the book. But if you look at 30 years ago, what a professional speaker was, what their message was, how they got it out to the corporations, and today, because of technology, that you can do it from home, and it's like it makes it more of an equal playing field for everyone. Because before it cost 30, 40 years ago, if you were in the industry of speaking, you had to put that media kit together. So you had to have someone that would come and film a presentation that you gave. You had to pay that up front. You had to put together your one page. You had to have your brochures. And if you were lucky enough to get on with these seminar companies where you traveled around, you know, because it was high competition, and they would tell you 10 days a month, but that 10 days a month was $250 a week. And what you made from back of the room sales. So you were probably not making more than $10 an hour. And this is why you had to be there at 7 o'clock in the morning to set the room up. You had to make sure the equipment was on. You had to make sure the books were set up. Then you had to be there to register the students when they came in. And then after the class was over, you were not yet finished. You had to go box up what was ever left over to send back to the company. You had so and then you had to travel by car to the next city. So you could have been starting at 7 o'clock in the morning and not be finishing till 12 at midnight. So how much were you really making when you figure that out? But today, because everything is digital, because it's an e-learning course or it's a challenge, you can set it up once. You can have 100 people come in. You make far more money today sitting home doing what you're doing than you would have been doing when you worked for those seminar companies.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Final question I have for you. So, do you think you have right set of boundaries?
Boundaries.
Yeah. Do you think do you have right set of boundaries?
I think I do, because I have found that, I mean, in dealing with my family, they didn't respect boundaries, and I found, and it's like I once told my mother, just remember what you give, because that's what you're getting back. And the last few years of her life, she needed help, and I never once went over there to help her. I told her, just remember, you know, they thought that because they were the parent, they could do to you whatever they wanted to, and it was okay. And but you have to respect me because I'm your parent. No, if that parent wants you to respect them, they got to show you the same respect. You can't walk all over your child and abuse them and then expect them to want to come back and be there for you. Some of the best families I've seen were those where they not only respected each other, but they were there for one another. They knew if they needed something, they had someone to go to.
So, in closing, what can you tell our audience?
I think the best thing you can do is it's not just reading the books and the self-help. Because remember, Eric Byrne wrote games people play, more games people play. And you can tell yourself, oh, yes, I can do this, but here's all the excuses why I'm not going to do it. So you need to look at yourself. You need to get within your head and find out what are you saying to yourself. How can you turn that around? And how do you learn to love and respect yourself first? Because when you love and respect yourself, then you're going to love and respect others, and you're going to be able to achieve whatever goals you want because you're the way you're seeing people is more as an equal. Because it's like, are you the parent constantly talking down to the child? Or are you the adult talking to the adult?
Yeah, absolutely right. So, in closing, I wanted to say that Davida is a career and personal development coach. If you want to set smart goals for your career, for your business, there is no better person than her. And you heard her story. So if she can do it, you can do it. You want to know more in details? There are all the information actually written in the description. Do contact her. We have also various free resources and help available. You can make use of them and you can succeed in your life. Thank you, Davida. Thank you for coming. And we really, really appreciate your
Thank you.
wisdom. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.